Sierra Taylor for Creative Cake Art, and this is Fix It Friday, where you write in your cake problems to me, and every Friday I make a short little video on how to fix it. What is better than that? So today's question is actually inspired by a cake colleague. His name is Chef Jeff. Some of you may know him. And we were talking about cakes, and he mentioned that he will have like the hardest time trying to get his cakes level, which I totally understand. But I know two very effective methods for doing this. One is super easy. It involves a cake leveler. The other, I'm going to show you a really good technique, and you just do it with your serrated chef's knife. And it's considered the more professional way, but either way works. Whatever way you can get it done, get it done. I'm going to show you both. As I mentioned, you will need to buy a cake leveler. This is a wire cake leveler, and it's different from the cheap plastic ones. Please do not buy the cheap plastic ones because they will not work for you. Okay, so they also have metal ones that have a serrated knife, but I've never used that before, so I can't say much about it. To be on the safe side, get the one with the wire. They come in two different sizes. This is a smaller one, and then you can get a much larger one, for larger cakes. But if your cake is too big, neither of them will work, which is where your serrated knife will come in handy, which is the second thing that you're going to use for the second method. Okay, you have your cake, and don't judge my cake because first of all, it's not nice. Secondly, this is only for teaching purposes. It's obviously a box cake and it's obviously burnt, but you'll still get the point. So what I'm going to show you first is how to do this, not with the leveler like I just said, but with the serrated knife first. And this has a pretty big dome on it. What you want to do is, in order to leave the most cake that you can still for your client, you need to look at where the corners are, and you actually need to find the lowest corner where the cake can be level. After you found your lowest point where you're going to cut, or what you're going to use as a guide for cutting, then you want to hold your arm still at your side. You want your knife to be parallel to your working surface, and for your elbow to be at a 90-degree angle. And this next move is key. This is your ninja move. It is what makes this method work. You want to bring your knife down to your cake a little bit. Actually, just bring your arm down, but hold everything. You want this planted here. Do not move it. The only thing that you want to move at this point is your turntable. Everything else stays exactly the same. 90-degree angle, parallel to your work surface, okay? And then you just begin to turn here, okay? You're gonna turn your turntable like such. And as you turn your turntable, you're just going to make a ever so slight impression into your cake. And this is happening really all on its own. Remember, my arm is planted and I'm just turning my turntable. And this is making an impression where you're going to go back after this and actually make your cut. And if you can see here, where I come back around is right where I started off. See that? That's right where I began. And that is why this method works, is because you literally made a straight line all the way around by keeping your knife at the 90-degree angle, and you keep your arm planted so that it stays there, so that as you go around, it's not like going ooh, you know, wherever it wants to go. That was a weird noise, sorry about that. Now that you made your first groove, you no longer need to hold your ribs in a chokehold. You can just go back around, and where you made your groove, I mean, you still want to keep your arm fairly still and at that 90-degree angle, keeping your knife parallel to the work surface, but you kind of can see where you did it now. So the key, what you're going to do the rest of this time until you get this cut all the way through, is you're going to just saw. Okay, you're just gonna saw your cake little by little. You continue with your turntable and you just saw your knife, okay? The key now is keeping your knife parallel, straight with your work surface, so that it's not cutting on a slant, and you just continue to saw. and you'll kind of feel it. I mean, you don't want to press it through. You want to just go around slightly and saw. Once you take your top off, you should have a perfectly level cake. And if you really want to be a creep, you can check it with your carpenter's level or your engineer's level. But if you did what I just told you to, that should have worked out perfectly. Now, on to the next method. This next method has its limitations, namely that the tool that we're going to use, you're going to have to pay for. It's about $30. And then secondly, that it only has notches at certain levels. And sometimes I found that even though it has it at quite a few levels, there's about 15 notches here every maybe like 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes it just still doesn't fit that perfect sweet spot where you want to cut your cake. But let's say today, for argument's sake, it does fit. Now you take your cake, and for this one, we're going to need this to sit on a flat surface. So it really won't work for you to have it sitting on top of the turntable. So I'm just going to take this and move it off onto the counter. All right, so it kind of works the same way. You want to find your corner. You want to find the edge or the point, if you're working with a round cake, at which the cake is lowest, because that's going to be your leveling point. So for me in this cake, it seems like it's probably over here in this corner. All right, and make sure you can see this. And then you take this and you adjust it to wherever your lowest point is. So the way that you adjust it is I kind of just push it against my body and then adjust it here. I've already adjusted this, so I know that it's supposed to be on the 3rd notch. Okay, so you put it on one of your notches on both sides. Make sure it's lined up, or then your cake will definitely not be even. Okay, and then you just take it and you start to kind of saw through. The same way that you did with the serrated knife, except for that the wire is going to mostly do the cutting, but since it's not a knife, I mean, it doesn't really cut. You more so have to push it in, and so you're going to have to hold your cake down as well to get it, especially through this first area. So even, you know what I'm going to do? I just thought of this because I'm a genius. Kidding. I'm going to make a cut where I know that indentation was, so that I can get through it and then take my wire and keep going the rest of the way. If it pulls a little bit, as I just did, don't worry, just use your hand to hold it in, because again, it's not a knife. Sometimes when it comes to rough areas or like the edges, it'll pull it out instead of cutting it, and you don't want that. So just use your hand to hold those areas in, especially once you get to the very end. I like to put my hand here before I bring it out, because if not, it sometimes can take off the edge of your cake, which is freaking annoying. Okay, so then you just take the top off and ta-dee! Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining us for Fix It Friday. Don't forget to submit your cake questions in the comments below or on Instagram at Cake College. I'll be picking one to submit a video answer to you every Friday. Okay, what is making that noise? No. Seriously? I think I was looking at myself and not actually the camera. 1 minute.